I'm going to share with you guys how I use affordable products to achieve a beautiful makeup look. Also showing you guys my technique. If you're interested, keep on watching. The first thing I did was to clean her face with baby wipes because she had some moisturizer on. And then I went ahead to moisturize her face again. My model has combination skin, so she's not oily all over and she's not dry all over. I applied extra moisturizer on her eyes because that place needs to be extra soft at all times. I went ahead to give her the Vaseline lip balm to just moisturize her lips. I'm going to list all the products I use in the description box below. I'm also using a primer, Pond's primer, to mattify the areas of her face that usually gets oily or that might get oily. And then I went ahead to set it all with a setting spray or a fixed spray. This one is from Kiss Beauty. Again, I will list all the products in the description box. The next thing I used on her face is the L'Oreal True Match. I use the shade N9. That is actually my foundation. She's my sister, by the way. So it was a bit light on her skin, but I still made it work at the end. Just to ensure that you blend your foundation out to the chin, to all the corners of the face, basically. Next thing I'm also applying is the concealer. Here I'm using the Early Girl concealer in the shade Fawn. So this is the way I like to apply my concealer. I apply it just in the inner corner of the eyes. I don't extend it to the tip of the eye because when you're blending, it's going to automatically blend to that area. I also apply it on her forehead, the bridge of her nose, her chin, and the top of her lips. That's just the way I like to apply concealers, right? Now I'm blending a concealer. I want you guys to look at the way I'm blending under her eyes. I would first blend the tips of the concealer, the tip rather, and then I'll let the remaining part of the concealer get a little more tacky. That way I don't extend the concealer where it's not supposed to be. Then there's something I also do because I'm using the same beauty sponge to blend the concealers. I'm going to take a tissue paper, a clean one, and then I'll just clean the excess concealer so that when I want to blend under the eyes, it's not extending. And if by any means it extends, you use the other side of the beauty sponge to just blend it out. I hope you understand that. This is the Eye Magic lip palette. I'm just using that as blush. I first used this pinkish blush, but I didn't like how pigmented it was, so I went ahead with the red color just to intensify it. The next thing I do is to set under her eyes with pressed powder, and I use her shade to set under her eyes. I always do this to avoid flashbacks when taking pictures. So I will typically set under the eyes with your own powder shade using a puff before I go in with the setting powder. The setting powder I use in this video is the one from Flawless Ivy. I think the shade Butter. Now let's move on to the brows. I use hair wax to just brush up the brows, basically to put the brow hairs in place. After doing that, I would set that with a powder. I do this because the brow gel that I'm using, which is a hair wax, is actually very oily, so you might not be able to get through with it. So you apply the powder on it and then start to do your brows. I also use Karite brow gel. Now that I've been upgrading my skills, I think that using a brow gel to do your brows is actually more neater and it's more defined. So that's what I use. But if you want a detailed eyebrow tutorial, the link is up here on the screen and it's also going to be in my description box. Please do well to check that out if you're interested. Moving on swiftly to the eyeshadow. I like to use the setting powder now to bake under our eyes and also apply the setting powder so that any eyeshadow droplets, if that makes sense, any eyeshadow that drops on her skin is just going to drop on the powder and it's going to be very easy to dust off. I'm using this Lydia Stanley's eyeshadow palette in the shade Isuken. I'm using that as the first transition shade. Now, a very good tip when you're trying to blend your eyeshadow, just tell your model to raise their brow so that you can get into the crease and blend it properly. After that, I'm going to use another color to just dip in the crease, a deeper color in this shade Amma, and then I will just apply it at the same spot where I applied the first transition shade. I hope this makes sense. If you're understanding or gaining any value from this video, you might do well to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it. Now that transition shade is okay, let's see how blended it is. The next thing I will do is to just apply a concealer. I don't have an eyeshadow primer, so I'm using a concealer, and then I apply it and I blend it with a blending brush. I'm not using a flat brush to apply this concealer so that the eyeshadow can apply generously and smoothly. You guys can see how I'm taking my time to blend the concealer into the transition shade. Now this is Blossom eyeshadow palette. I'm using that shade just as my main eyeshadow color, and after applying that, I just tap it in. I don't rub. Typically when you're doing your eyeshadow, the main color, just tap in, you don't need to rub. I'm still showing the technique on how I am just tapping that in. And after that, you're now going to take the same brush you used for your transition earlier to just blend the transition shade with the main eyeshadow, creating more like a contour, just like a meeting point between them. It's just a very simple eyeshadow look. Then I'll take a clean blending brush just like that, and then ask your model again to raise her brows and then blend that line. You see there's like a straight line, that's where you're going to blend. You're going to blend that so that it's just like an easy transition, or a smooth transition between the brows and the eyeshadow. Everything needs to marry together. If you don't blend that, you're going to see it's just going to look very awkward and weird. But when you blend that line, just look at how blended and how beautiful it looks. Now I'm going with eyeliner. You guys, it gets very teary from here. My model was tearing all over. Guess what? I wasn't even scared. I wasn't bothered because I know that when she's done being teary, she's just going to adjust back. But this is the tip I use. Whenever a model is tearing, just tell them to keep sniffing in their nose, and then they act like they're sniffing in something in their nose, so the water in the eyes just keeps going back. But her eyes became very, very messy at this point. But yeah, using the mascara Mega Impact, all these products I'm using are very affordable. I also want to show you that you don't need all the expensive products to actually get a flawless makeup application. It's just a technique, and you have to be very neat. Using this bonding glue, like I said, see her eyes, very messy. It was just a lot. She was tearing. After that, you just take her eyeshadow powder shade and use a powder brush to just dust off under her eyes. And I'm also using a contour shade. Look clearly, or closely rather. I am blending in the nose contour shade into the transition shade. That way it looks seamless and it looks like the eyeshadow transition shade and the contour are together. You just blend it into it. It makes it very flawless at that point. The next thing we are going to do is to apply blush, right? This blush, I bought it like maybe 1,000 naira like a year ago or more. You just apply it on the cheek. You tell your model to smile so that you can get the actual shape of her cheek. This is where I like to apply my blush. People apply it on other places, but I don't know. And then this cheap ass highlighter, this is like 500 naira. I'm not even kidding you guys. Just enter the market and I bought a basic highlighter. This highlighter, it did not really pop. I mean, it was okay. And then I seal everything in with a setting spray again, the same setting spray I used initially. Like we said though, we are on a budget. Now let's move to lips. I am using the same brow gel I use for her eyebrows for the lips. I use this sometimes because it lasts a bit longer, in fact a lot longer, and it's more defined. Just be very careful while doing it. Apply it, just make a straight line, and then use another brush to blend out the harsh lines at the edge. Don't just leave it as a straight line. You don't want your client to be looking like a ghost, right? So what I did, I'm blending that color out with a clean flat brush, right? So after blending that out, you now take a brush or your hand, whatever you like, and then I go in with the Eye Magic palette again. I use these 3 shades I'm showing you, this one, that one, and the white one. I'm using it on her lips, so I'm using it step by step, bit by bit. This is the first one I am using. Then you tell your model to smack, not rub. There's a difference between smacking and rubbing. You apply the white one, that's like the last color. Then I just felt like adding more of the brow gel, and then I applied gloss, and see how beautiful she was looking. See how pretty my client is now. I'm going to just zoom in so you can see the details. See, We achieve these things using cheap ass product too. Cheap makeup products like this. So I went ahead to just tie gele. I'm still learning gele, but if you want the tutorial, I can also film a tutorial and show you guys. You guys, I'm not perfect here, but this is like the stage I've kind of gotten to, even though I later corrected some more. But yes, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section, and if you also want more videos like this, also let me know. I will see you guys in my next video. See details now. So the eyeshadow, see how blended it is. Look at the lips. Just see the lips, sultry. Thank you for watching. Bye guys. Mwah.